Most business advice sounds really good until you actually try to use it. You've got influencers, millionaires, podcast guys trying to tell you how to escape your 9 to 5. A lot of these people have never run a small business. They didn't start from the ground up. A lot of them started on YouTube. Never had to knock doors. They never went and chased leads, and they never had to figure out how to make money this week. So in this series, I'm putting their advice to the test. I personally run a real service business. I have real customers, real complications, and real problems that I solve every day. We're gonna react to clips, I'm gonna break them down, and I'm gonna give you the honest truth. What's useful, what's overrated, and what's straight up garbage. If you're trying to start something or grow your small business, you want a real world perspective, this is the place. Let's get into it. Welcome back, guys. Today we're reacting to Luke Belmar's advice, business advice, personal advice, not sure. Let's get into it. Let's break it down. Let's talk about it and see what you guys think.
Should everyone be running a business?
No, definitely not.
No, I don't think everybody should be running a business. I think people need to find what makes them happy.
Now, I've seen a couple clips by Luke Belmar. I was actually expecting him to say everybody should be running a business. So I'm very glad to hear he said not everybody should be running a business. I know people that shouldn't be running a business. I'm sure you might know people that should not be running a business. It's definitely not for everybody.
What is their vehicle to success? Because even making money can be a spectrum. I know people that are happy making $5,000.
Definitely true. Definitely true. Making 5,000. Some people, I don't know exactly what he meant by that, but some people run a business, make 5,000 and they're happy. Some people work a job and make $5,000 a month and they're happy with that. So it's definitely different for each individual person.
And I know people that are unhappy making $50,000. So the premise is first figuring out what does success mean for you? Why do you want to make money in the first place? Because after X amount of dollars, you know this, after X amount of dollars, what do you buy? Nicer, bigger things of the same thing, a bigger house, a better car, a better plane ticket.
I actually like what he's saying right now. Obviously, there's people that make a lot of money and are unhappy, and there's people that make very little money and are very happy. Money does not buy happiness, but if you are a happy person, money typically tends to make, your life more enjoyable. The nice thing about money is that it takes away stress of not being able to afford certain things. Money doesn't necessarily make most people happy. Maybe it makes some people happy, but there's definitely people who are making a lot of money that are very unhappy. And no matter whether you make, $1,000 a month, $10,000, $100,000 a month, we're all living this life. We all, have health problems. We all have family problems, friend problems. We all have things going on in our life, whether it's, your own personal health or someone you love passing away. Good and bad things happen to everybody. It doesn't matter how much money you're making. You can't prevent it from happening.
There's just spectrums of the same thing. So once you find gratitude and contentment with just existing, making money is kind of a spectrum. So yeah, that would be my opinion.
Right, but I hear you saying this right now, but I'm also hearing you say making $10,000 a day, that's nothing.
It is nothing, because it's nothing in the context of what I want to accomplish.
Kind of a weird take. His point is, he wants to make way more than 10,000, so it's nothing, but it's a weird take to have. His take should have been, I have much bigger goals, because I'm sure he was once, whether that's even true or not, he might not be making nearly that much money, because obviously $10,000 a day comes out to about, $3 million a year. So it's definitely possible, but I would say overall, his take on that is kind of bad. I mean, he could say that for his personal goals, he wants to make a lot more money than that, but the idea of saying that that's nothing makes no sense. It's kind of a ridiculous point. It doesn't really, it makes people, who are very into business, it makes them it gets that like spark of motivation, but it doesn't give them any value, and it doesn't get them to any spot where they're going to be successful.
Let me give you a premise. You make $10,000 a day. Let's say you take home $3 million after everything's said and done. You want to go buy a house, a normal house.
Okay.
That's $500,000. Evaluate that.
Okay, that's true. A normal house is about $500,000, depending where you live, unless you live in California. I'm looking for a house right now, and I'm in that 400,000. Even that is difficult. So I would say $500,000 is roughly the new starter home. Between 300 and 500, that's like the new starter home. You can get something for cheaper. You need a lot of fixing up. But if you want to move into a house, have a couple kids, 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, I mean, you are typically looking about 400,000 to 500,000. That's just how it is today. If you want something that's decent with, even a tiny bit of land, like a quarter acre. So that is how the market is right now.
That versus the amount of money that you've generated, you're talking about 15, 20% of your money directly to a house. So when you evaluate $1 million versus how expensive things actually are, you begin to look at $1 million, not for what $1 million is known to be for, but for the purchasing power that it actually holds. So when you evaluate $10,000, yes, you can live off of $10,000, very fine.
I agree with this point, but big problem. He's valuing $1 million based on its purchasing power. $1 million is a good amount of money, but it's not a lot overall when it comes down to your life. So yes, $1 million might only buy you a $500,000 house and a couple cars, and then you have to go to work. He's trying to value that to the $10,000 per day, which makes no sense because $1 million might only get you a $500,000 house. But if it was $1 million a year, well, then you'd have a completely different perspective. So this is actually bullshit what he's talking about. $10,000 a day has no comparison to just having $1 million. $10,000 a day is $3 million a year, maybe $1.5 million after tax. If you have $1.5 million after tax and you're getting that every year, that's much different than just having $1 million. It's definitely disagree on this point, and he's using language and math to try to trick people because they're not looking deeper into what he's actually saying.
But for what I'm trying to accomplish in life, it's not enough. I have to feed 100 families. I have 100 employees. They have 100 families. That requires a lot of money. In order to build operations of scale, business versus self-employment, you need to make a lot of money. And to think that, it's a lot of money is capping your mentality and possibility of scaling. So to me, not a lot of money.
But that's for you. But when you're putting it out on the internet, you're getting millions of views.
Absolutely.
And all those people that are watching it, they might be happy with $10,000 a month.
Perfect.
Not even a day.
Yeah.
So
Definitely agree with this. Most people would be very happy with $10,000 a month, especially at the young audience that these people are talking to and trying to, persuade into purchasing things from them, like courses and whatnot. $10,000 a month would be more than satisfactory for most people in this age bracket, my age bracket.
do you think it's a little downplaying their achievements?
No,
Are you saying it
not
just
at
to
all.
get a clip?
No, I think it's the truth. I think you can be in a situation whereby you can face the reality at the fact that you can live with not a lot, like $10,000. I can go to 80% of places in the world and live for a very long time with $10,000. But is it a lot of money? No, it's not. But to say that it's
I agree. $10,000 is not a lot of money. His original point was $10,000 a day, so we're getting a little mixed up right now. We're kind of...
a lot of money is the fallacy. So to say $10,000 is a lot of money, it's not a lot of money.
Per day, we're talking, right?
Per day,
Right.
bro. It's not a lot of money. Now you may say, whoa, it's a lot of money. Perfect. What is the context? Are you a single guy that lives in a 1-bedroom apartment that spends $2,000? It's a ton of money. You run an enterprise. You run an enterprise. You build an empire. You have a lot of employees. You have a lot of staff.
He's mixing it up again. A lot of employees, a lot of staff. Yes, $10,000 a day is very different when you have 100 employees. But the point he seemed to be making at first was it was $10,000 a day profit he was making, or $10,000 that he was making. If he's talking about generating income, then maybe I agree with him more. Generating $3 million a year in income is not crazy when you have a lot of employees. I don't believe he has 100 employees, but generating $1 million, $3 million a year is definitely feasible. I know somebody in specific who's generating $6 million a year, but he only makes $300,000 profit from that business. He's not actually taking all that money. So if he's talking about, in the context of owning a business and generating revenue at $10,000 a day, then I agree with him. But I think he was trying to make it seem as if his $10,000 a day was his profit that he was keeping. So I'm not too sure on that.
The context becomes different. But you need the mindset of saying, hey, there's potential, there's scalability, there is more opportunity, there's abundance, as opposed to saying, oh, this is enough, this is good. And people can say this is enough, this is good, and they can cap themselves there. I just choose not to.
Would you be friends with me if I said this is okay with me? Or do you associate with people like that?
How much money do you make?
6 figures.
We're here together.
What if he said below 6?
It doesn't make a difference. You know, it's like it's the assumption that money is what makes you valuable. I never said money is what makes you valuable. I just said $10,000 is not a lot of money, and I still will stand by that point. But
which I agree with. Not a lot. 10,000 is not a lot of money overall.
has no intrinsic play in who you are as a person. Let me give you an example. Charlie Munger, he passed away recently. We know this.
I do like that he's saying this because I have seen clips of him saying, if you don't make a certain amount, I'm not hanging around you, which, you know, you don't want to hang around with people that have absolutely no goals, no ambition. But at the same time, you can't just not hang out with someone because they're not making as much money as you. Like clips I have heard him, you know, act like that's the case.
Berkshire Hathaway, multi-billionaire. He comes from a really rough background. He got divorced in his late 20s. This was back in the day when divorce was like really frowned upon. His kid died while he was in his early 30s. So this guy goes through the trenches, then becomes a multi-billionaire. In this entire process, if you assume that money is what identifies.
The thing that people don't talk about is no matter what, that money never will ever cure, you know, the difficulties he's been through and the pain it was to lose people like that. So yes, he might have made a ton of money, but even the richest people in the world have to go through terrible things like losing family members, losing their own kids. And having $1 billion is not going to take the pain away from that.
Him, then who he became from the trenches to come up, then none of that is worth anything because he had no money. But if you evaluate just the value of somebody by what they have, which is just money, that's not a really good metric, because if money's all that you have, you don't have much. What if all you had was a money bank account ready to go, liquid, but you were individual? Nobody was around you. You were unhealthy. You were drinking tap water all day. It wouldn't be a wealthy life. And I think what I teach.
So far, I'm surprised I'm agreeing with him as much as I am just based on his clips. Maybe he uses a lot of his clips that I see on, like, you know, shorts and reels to get views. But now he's talking, you know, genuine person to person. I actually happen to think he sounds more like an actual human trying to benefit people just in this video so far from what I've seen.
Or what I like to share, or what I believe, is that wealth is a mindset of abundance in every area of life. In your relationships, in your health, in your ambition, in your desire, in your pursuit of goals and happiness. And I don't think it's bad to, one, identify that maybe you don't have an abundance mindset, maybe you have a scarcity mindset, and that it's okay to change it. And I will say this, the school system, and that's why I appreciate people that make content on the internet and add the ability to make it interesting for people to consume content, because the education system has allowed people to adopt mental frameworks and mental models like that of scarcity. Like, oh, making this amount of money is fine, making this amount of money is okay.
I agree that schools don't teach as much about business as they should, but what he's saying seems to be contradicting a point earlier that it is perfectly okay for people to settle at a certain amount of money, that they're okay with just making $5,000 a month. Yeah, this might be kind of like guided through school, but most people don't want to work the 60, 80 hours a week it takes to, you know, and grow their own business and have the responsibility of having employees and growing something. Most people don't want that. That's not just because it's taught in school or that it's not taught in school to do that. It just so happens that most people would rather focus on their personal lives and, you know, focus on being with their children, focus on, you know, whatnot, than focusing on growing a business or becoming a multimillionaire or a billionaire, which takes a lot of, you know, sacrifice. And, you know, the business perspective, because I'm a business owner, I understand it's, you know, you're trading all of this hard work and time. So in the future, you have more time to hang out with your kids and your family, and you have more time to, you know, live this life you want and more money to be able to do the things that you want. But what happens is, for a lot of people, not all people, but you just get sucked into it to where, you know, you think that you're working hard in this stage of your life, you know, growing your business. Then the future comes and you're still working just as hard because you never learned to step outside of the business. You're still working those 60, 80 hours. You might be making, you know, $10 million of revenue per year instead of your $300,000 per revenue when you first started your business, but you're still working the same amount of hours. You haven't learned how to take yourself out of the business and hire other people to do it. It's kind of like this mix of ideas where some people are perfectly fine with settling, where other people just want to keep building. And I don't think either one is right or wrong.
Settling for this lifestyle is fine. You need to identify, do you truly believe these things, or are these things that you've been conditioned to believe? And that's a conversation that you truly have to have, because you might arrive to the conclusion that maybe your worldview at the current moment is not the best possible worldview. And that's the question.
True, self-reflection. You should always be doing it in general. Whether you are that person that is okay with that small amount, or if you're the person that is growing your business and you're expanding, you could easily have been not brainwashed, but brainwashed in a way by these YouTube videos that you watch, telling you that you have to do more, you have to be a multimillionaire, or, your life is going to be over because the world is collapsing in on itself. You have to have, I think what is the right thing to do is have some sort of middle mindset. You should always be trying to generate more revenue, but not being so crazy about it to where you feel like the world's going to end if you don't, keep growing. You're going to be sucked into the, poverty line if you don't make enough money quick enough.
Question: have you adopted the best possible worldview for your life? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, perfect. Continue on your path. If the answer is no, figure out other worldviews that you can.
The answer should never be yes. The answer should be either no or currently I am.
Extract from that are beneficial to you, leave the rest, and continue on your way. If Luke Belmar can provide some sort of value to you, anything, take it. And whatever's not in the way, leave it. If it was a video game, you would.
Correct. One of the best points he's made this video. People will hear something they dislike about anybody, any content creator, any person in the world, even your own friends or people in drama in high school. People will hear one negative thing about some person and completely dismiss everything they say. What he just said was sometimes, and what you should always do is you should take the information that's useful to you. Even if you disagree with the person, if you can find some sort of value that helps you in your life, you can take that information. You don't have to dismiss everything somebody says because you don't like them, or you heard something bad about them, or they said something you didn't like. Take the information that's valuable, and anything that's not, well, just forget about it. You don't have to, completely dismiss somebody because you might not have liked a point they made. Very valuable.
Interact with all the characters,
in my opinion.
Figure out what are the clues, and move on. Why wouldn't you do the same with me? I'm just another dude.
Fair enough. You're a big school hater, huh? I'm seeing crazy stories of school, of this,
it's not
of
a
that.
school, bro. I think school.
Okay, these interviewers suck a little bit. They're not, expanding on what he's saying. He's kind of just question after question. I would have liked to hear him maybe press him a little more on what he was specifically saying, or, kind of counter it a little bit, but he's kind of just, maybe he's clip farming, trying to get good clips for his channel.
School's great. It's what are they teaching? It's the education that is put
School is
through the school
important.
system.
School is
That
necessary.
is the problem. So when you have, for example, let's say history. Let's talk about history. How do you know that what is written in history books is true?
It's not necessarily true. The winner always writes the history book, so I don't disagree with you there.
So now you have somebody. Would you say that the teacher that teaches history, let's say the fourth grade teacher, I'm not talking about PhD, high level education, would you say the fourth grade teacher actually is well educated on the truth of?
I like that point. Obviously not about finance, but the history books are written by the winners, which is something I haven't thought about before. But, when it comes to big wars in the past, it's typically the losers are, wiped out. They're not alive. They don't exist anymore, which is kind of a crazy thing to think about, that through all of history, it's been the winners of battle, the winners of this, who have passed down the stories. Obviously, there's been losers that pass down stories because, not everybody dies, but kind of interesting thought.
History, or she's just regurgitating the syllabus?
But is there a better way to do it?
Self-education.
So the fourth grader has to join Capital Club and...
No, I mean...
Like that stupid question. He's saying that people, even when you're young, you have to be, learning on your own. You can't just learn in school. And then the interviewer says, oh, so you're trying to sell your course. Surprisingly, I'm on Luke Belmar's side right now because, like I said, his clips don't make him out to be what he's doing right now, but it seems like he's trying to be very genuine and tell people, like, you need to be, learning. He wasn't even trying to sell his stuff.
Capital Club is not for fourth graders. Capital Club is actually for
Stupid
aspiring
question.
and developed entrepreneurs. But for a fourth grader, maybe as a parent or as an older brother, you give a child a book instead of giving them an iPad.
Right.
You take them out for a walk and teach them the value of health and nutrition, as opposed to taking them for marshmallows and ice cream. Yeah, those things are fine, but what are you developing?
Okay, I'm starting to like this guy. I am starting to like this guy, surprisingly. I hope you guys are as well, because I know definitely seen clips and disagree with a lot of stuff he said, but right now I'm starting to, I'm agreeing. There's been almost very little I've disagreed with so far.
You're under the assumption that education is merely contextual to student teacher sitting at a desk. This is education. You guys are teaching me. I'm teaching you. We're teaching each other. And if you can start learning from your environment, you can start learning from the data sets that reality gives you, becomes a little bit different.
But is that scalable? Like, if everybody, is that really the best way? If we relied on everybody just teaching their younger brothers and their younger siblings?
Do you have siblings?
I do.
Younger or older?
Older.
Right. I think he's going to say, like, the point is, like, yes, you should be. What's his point right now? That you shouldn't be there for your younger siblings? You shouldn't be there for your kids to teach them, what's right? Obviously, it's scalable. Why would you not do that? Like, the whole idea is too many people in the world today are not doing that. They're just giving their kid a tablet. I think I've seen this guy before. He does Instagram and stuff like that, but I think he's kind of a terrible interviewer right now. What do you guys think? Do you guys think he's doing a good job interviewing?
Okay, you're the youngest?
Mm-hmm.
So it would be hard for you to understand what it's like as an older brother to take care of a younger brother. Regardless of how you may feel about that, that's the truth, because you simply aren't in that position. It's like saying that you can understand what it's like to be a father if you've never had a kid. You just can't, as much as you want to think that you can. As an older brother, and I have younger brothers, my job is to teach them. Teach them what? Teach them the things that I've done that are wrong, and teach them the things that I've done right, so that they don't have the same. Even if you're young, you can do the same thing with your older brothers. I would hope and assume that you're wise enough to, when you spot and identify your brothers falling or faltering or failing, that you correct them, that you teach them, that you educate them. If they have a faulty mental framework,
I'm really curious what the interviewers are going to say after this, because he's making a very good point, and if they just completely dismiss it, then this video is terrible.
that you come to them and you're like, hey, you know what? Let me show you this. Let me learn from you. Learn from me. And you create an environment of what? Winners. Right now, a lot of people just pushing each other down, bro. A lot of bad mindset, a lot of negativity, a lot of jabbing at people aspiring to be great. Why can't we elevate each other? Why can't we learn from each other from a place of authenticity and truth? Now, how I do it, my model of doing it, I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's authentic. It's me. And if people can embody themselves, and we can create a culture and an environment where people can be themselves and learn from each other, yes, I do think that everybody can do it.
Have you taught TJ anything?
I think so. Let's ask him. That's
Bruh. Okay.
my little brother, by the way.
Hey, brother.
I mean, quick story. I always tell this to people, but back in the day, it was like 2018. I was trying to do drop shipping. I had my first little store. I was selling like a little, like some little slime thing or something like that. I go to him, my older brother, my bigger brother. He starts flaming me like crazy, telling me not to do drop shipping. So I never did it. And then 2023 rolls around. I go to Beheza. He helps me start up a store. We run it up, and they got the 6 figures. So I mean,
What did you learn
from what?
from what you just told me?
Business.
No.
Oh, God.
What did you identify in your brother's broken mental framework that allowed him to belittle you in such
He's completely driving this conversation, this podcast, and he's completely owning it, because all 3 of them don't seem to know what they're doing.
a way
It's unfortunate.
that he didn't believe that you had the capabilities to do what you set out to do? What do you think, brother, was the mental framework that allowed him to, whether he was willingly or unwillingly, belittle you? Because that's a common thing that happens when you have broken mental frameworks. What do you think?
Maybe it was just his experience with the whole dropshipping thing, you know? And I mean, I wouldn't say it didn't work out for him, but maybe he didn't like it too much, and he would put that mentality on me. But at the same time, you know, that happened, but there were times when he did put me on some sauce, you know?
Perfect. So under that premise, because it happens to everybody, right? It happens. I have coaches that mentor me, and sometimes they limit me with their belief system. But what if you had had success with e-commerce? Would your worldview had changed, and would your information and your data sets right? And what you knew about the world
Right.
would have taught him something different. Would have been different.
Yeah, 100%.
And I hope that they touch on the point that he wasn't in the wrong for what he did. Even though in the future they did the same thing again and made money, he had the right intention for his younger brother. I would hope so. He had the right intention for his younger brother that, you know, his younger brother was going to go down this path of losing all of his money. And, you know, maybe he should have took a risk somewhere else. You know, it's not like he was saying his brother told him, no, you shouldn't do this. You should just, you know, stick into your bubble and do this job, and you should never, you know, venture out there and, you know, take risks. He just said, you know, don't do the drop shipping. Maybe you should do something else, which is valid if he had bad experiences with it. He wasn't in a bad state of mind. He wasn't trying to, you know, put his younger brother, you know, down a negative path. He was giving him his advice that he thought was correct.
I agree with what you were saying, where he should experience other people's opinions, not just mine. You know, if I had success in something else, if it's crypto, and I put you on crypto,
Yeah.
but I tell you not to do drop shipping, that doesn't mean I'm right. That just what works
And
for
that's
me.
exactly it. You have to be able to sit down with people and pull from them, learn from them. Yeah, maybe you pull this, maybe you don't pull that. Okay, yeah, Luke made money in e-com. Am I the best e-com guy in the world? No, nor do I claim to be. No, I've just made money with e-commerce.
Yeah.
And I made money investing, but I know how to scale and build digital businesses. Am I the best in the world? No, but I'm me, and I'll tell it to you straight to your face. So you know how I see it. It's the reason the information that you gave him was the information that you gave him was it was because it was based off of the information that you knew. And what I'm trying to convey to you is that I know things that you guys don't know. That's why when I sit here and just like you guys know things that I don't know, but when
Perfect. Conversely, you know things
I
I don't
say
know.
these things and I share with you like the importance of applying the
Sorry, we're gonna try to get through this video. I know it's been a bit long. Finish up these last 2 minutes here.
ludicrous belief that everybody can truly become successful. It's a ludicrous belief.
Exactly.
And
Can you put that in Fortnite terms? What does that mean?
I'll put it in Fortnite terms. Everybody thinks that most people are going to be unsuccessful. That's why most people are unsuccessful. Why can't we walk around wishing the best of people? Looking at I went to a hotel. I know it sounds crazy. I went to a hotel. The guy was mopping the floors. He was a janitor. I've done janitor work, so we're just talking. And he's sitting down with his phone during his break, scrolling through TikTok. And I literally go and sit down with him. We're having mate. We're sipping mate. It's an Argentine herb tea. And I ask him, hey, what are you doing in your free time? I was like, why is it that you're choosing to do this? And we start chopping it up. 10 minutes in, he tells me that he used to own a business, but that he quit because he went into debt. He couldn't make it. He lost hope. And where did he end up? A janitor. Why? Not because a janitor is a measly job, but because he didn't have the right tools, the right knowledge, the right circle, the right information, and he lost hope. You know why he lost hope? Because the environment around him told him that he was going to lose. But what if the environment around him was positive and empowered? And so you know what I said? Bro, go back and start the business again, bro. What am I going to do? Sit down and tell him how to do dropshipping? No. Bro, I can encourage you. Hey, bro, you got this. If you were able to do it once, you can do it again.
Awesome, guys. I want to touch on this last point he made. I hear a lot of people talking about stories that they they've had with other people. Whether this story is true or not, I think if the story can be true, you know, if it can be believed as true, as if something like this could have happened, even if it didn't and he's just making up this story, I think this story should be believed as true because I'm sure there was a time, if not this time, when there was a situation where somebody had quit their job or quit their business because they went into debt, then they stopped believing they could do it, and then they ended up in a job, and then somebody later on, you know, met with them and talked to them. So I would put value in that story that the world does kind of tell certain people that you're not able to do it. But overall, this video, Luke Belmar, I actually liked it a lot more than I thought I would. I agreed with almost everything he said. When it comes to starting a small business and growing as a small business, was there a whole lot of valuable information here? I would say no. I would say this is much more talking to the person that either wants to start a business and hasn't, and kind of giving them this motivation, but not giving them any value as to how they can start the business and how they can grow the business. Is it good advice? It's good advice mostly for the people that are already running a business and already making a good amount of income. And this happens to be much more of a mindset advice than it is an actual business advice. I didn't find in this video much actual practical tips for how to start or grow a business. It was more so the mindset that you need to scale, or the mindset that you should have if you want to be someone that, you know, grows a big business. This was talking much more about personality type, in the way that people think, more than it was the actual starting a business and growing a business. When it comes to, you know, actual genuine information like we talked about for small business owners or people starting a business, I would give this like a 3 out of 10. Not much value. You know, you leave this video maybe with motivation, but you don't leave it taking away information as to how you can actually achieve something. It's more motivation to push you to, you know, do something, but you don't know how to start, when to start. So I think this is a very good video. As far as how much I enjoyed this video and agreed with him, I would give this, you know, an 8.5 out of 10. I actually liked it. I was surprised that I liked it. I think Luke Belmar did a very good job in this video. I think the interviewers were absolutely terrible. I think he did a good job pulling through. He easily could have tried to argue with them. I'm happy that he, you know, he stood his ground and he was very calm and just explaining what he was talking about. I like that he didn't plug his course. The other people tried to plug it as if that's what he was saying, which it's not what he was saying. You know, they tried to get him on, you know, trying to plug his course for fourth graders, and he said, this is not my stuff is not for fourth graders. If you want to watch my stuff, understand that it's my stuff, it's my opinion. It's not necessarily correct and it's not necessarily wrong, but it's me and it's my opinion. I think that was a great point, that he didn't try to plug it. But overall, this video, I would give it an 8.5 out of 10. I liked what he was saying. I'm actually interested in checking out another video or 2 more videos, whatever, by Luke Belmar to see if he can follow this up with actual business advice, starting a business, growing a business. Something for most of the people that are watching this stuff is the people that want to be in it. The people that are already in it are typically not watching this. So overall, I liked it. 3 out of 10 for the information, 8.5 out of 10 for his personality and the way that he spoke in this video. Thank you guys. Make sure you check out the next video. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button. See you guys next video. Thanks.